Hello! In this video, I will be showing you guys how to detect emotions, tones from reviews using IBM Watson Tone Analyzer with Python, because Python is awesome. So here we are on the IBM Watson Tone Analyzer page, and let's just do a quick demo to see what the Tone Analyzer do. So the Tone Analyzer is an AI service provided by IBM Cloud that is able to detect tones such as joy, fear, sadness, anger. And here we can use our own text. So what we'll be doing is grabbing reviews from Google. I've already picked a random place, and I'm just going to grab the first review showing up here, and I'm going to copy. And I'm going to paste it onto here, and now we're going to let IBM Watson analyze this written text. So it has detected a 0.58 confidence level. So it means that this review has shown a feeling of loss and disadvantage. The first thing that we would need to do is go to our IBM Cloud account, and we would need to generate an API key and also obtain this URL under the Tone Analyzer service. The second thing that we would need to do is go to our Google Cloud platform and generate an API key as well, so we can access the Google Places API, which we have the documentation here, in order to get reviews from places that's showing up under Google. And I will be using PyCharm for my IDE today. And here I've created a file. Just gonna open up the terminal here, a Python file. Now I'm just going to go to the Tone Analyzer documentation. And the first thing that we would need to do is download the IBM Watson SDK or packages that will allow us to use their Tone Analyzer. So I've already done this step, pip install -- upgrade IBM Watson, which is showing right here. I've already installed it, and it will install the SDK core and the IBM Watson itself. The second thing that we would need to do is get this thing and copy it into this file here. So what this does is it imports the Tone Analyzer version 3 from IBM Watson. And IBM Watson, it came from our pip installation. And this is just creating an instance, which we named it as Tone_Analyzer, from this object or this class, it seems like. And by the way, these are strings, so these are static right now, and we're just going to set this up. So I'm going to create a variable called version, because I can't think of any other name for this. And the version will be a string, and it'll be the date that you have generated your IBM API key. So today is July 6th. And then I'm going to set a variable called IBM API key. And I've already saved it here. Oops, it needs to be a string. And now I have this and that. I'm just going to rename this to version, and now this is going to be connected to that, obviously. And then API key is here. Cool. And now I need to set up the IBM URL. So I'm going to type in IBM URL to make it clear on what it is. And where do I get this URL? I get it from here under my IBM Cloud account. Hey, okay, cool. Now I have it. Now I just need to rename this to the variable that I've set. And now I have an instance of this tone analyzer that IBM Watson provided. Cool. Now here, now that I have this, let's just continue down with the documentation. So I'm just going to skip to analyze general tone because that's the main thing that I want. So here is how we set it up. So from that instance we call tone underscore analyzer, there's a method called .tone, and then we can insert these things, including the text in here. And then we can get the result. So this will return the analysis once we print them out. So now we have this bit, but the thing is we need the text. I don't want to use this static text. I want to get it from Google Places API so I can get people's reviews. So the way to do that is we need to go to the Google API documentation. And in order to get the reviews, we would need to get the place ID. So in order to get the place ID, we need to get it from place search first. Whereas the reviews are actually under place details. So I'm just gonna grab this link here, copy, and I'm gonna set, I'm gonna call it, I'm just gonna paste it here. Place, I'm gonna call it place search URL. Now I'm gonna set it as a string. This is a bit too long, so what I'm going to do, I'm gonna set a base URL. And the base URL will just be this first one. The ones that we know for sure it's not going to change. Yep. So I'm just gonna copy this one and then paste it on here. Find place from text and then, so input the query string. I'm gonna remove this one because this one, input equals, that's actually the place that we want to search for under the Google Places API. And right now it's static, set to Museum of Contemporary Art Australia, which I don't want. So I'm gonna just make it a bit more dynamic by setting it as a variable. What is the name of this variable? I'm going to call it place input. Plus, now I'm gonna reset that thing. Now it's complaining because I haven't set the place input. I'm just gonna call it chat type because that's the random place I'm gonna be testing on. Chat type, yep. So back to the code. So text query, this is important because input type equals text query will indicate that the place input will be a text query. And the other query I think you can put is a number query, or you can put the phone number instead. So here I'm actually going to remove the fields from here because I don't want photos formatted address. I don't want those fields to be returned to me, so I'm just gonna delete it. And now it's asking me for my API key, which I'm going to make it also dynamic by attaching a variable to it. So Google API key. Yay. Okay, now I'm going to set the API key here, and I'm going to go get my API key. Copy, and groovy. Okay, so now we have the place search URL. I'm missing one thing. I'm going to attach the base URL plus that. Great. Now I'm just going to print this out to see if it gives me the right link. And here in PyCharm, I can just click this play button. So this is the URL that it has returned. I'm going to click on it. It's, yay, cool. So now it's returning this JSON object with a place ID, which is exactly what I want to get the reviews. But now I need to save this place ID inside of a variable. And I know that I can access this, given that this is inside of an array, and then this thing is inside of a JSON object. So I'm going to call this place ID equals, oh, shoot. I'm dumb. This is just going to give me the URL. So I actually need to fetch the response. The response is this, using URL lib.request from Python. So I'm going to import this. And then I'm going to just copy this thing. Now I'm going to replace this URL with my URL. I'm going to delete that. Okay, now response.read. And I think this is just going to read it as it is. But the problem is that this thing isn't a JSON. So I'll deal with that later. But let's just see if it does anything right now. I'm going to run it. Yes, of course, I was expecting this error. And why is there a debugger right here? So SSL certificate verify failed. So this means that because we are accessing a secure website, and we know that because it's HTTPS, S stands for secure, this Python module is unable to access it because it doesn't have a verified certificate. So we're just going to patch it up by importing this thing. And we're not going to verify the certificate. We're going to say we don't want to verify a certificate for this purpose. So I'm just going to put this here. SSL.create unverified context. Yes, that's what we want. So let's just see if it works now. Yay, it did work. So the reason why we see this weird thing B and then we have this, I think it's a next line thing, it's because it's .read. We actually want to use, we want to read it as a JSON file. So I had it before. Here's a little thing that will help us. So we need to import JSON. Okay, so let's import this JSON module so we can use this stuff inside. So we're going to use JSON.loads. I'm just gonna I think you do JSON.loads, and then we're going to do the response, and then I'm going to say result. Let's just see if it gives us what we want. Okay, now it's saying the JSON object must be a string. Okay, now it's complaining. Is it .read? Yay! Okay, cool, it worked. So let's just see what this will do. So call response. Okay, cool. So now we have it, we're loading it as a JSON file. And what I want is this place ID. So I'm gonna do result, and then because it's inside of a dictionary, I'm gonna call the key candidates, and then I'm gonna, I guess I could pop it. I'm gonna use pop so I can pop the first item out of this array, which will just be the place ID. And then, oh, I need to call place ID equals, there you go, pop. So after I pop it, I'm going to get the place ID. Oops, place ID, and now I'm gonna hit run. Yay, I got the place ID. Groovy, now that we have the place ID, we're able to get the reviews from a specific place listed under Google. And how did I know that? I went to Google Places API documentation, and on the left-hand side, we see place details page. And under that page, we have an example URL and what the example URL will return, which is all of this stuff. And inside of the results key, we have all these different properties, including the address of that place, and we also have the place ID and rating, and most importantly, we have the reviews. And this all came from the identifier, the place ID. So now all we need to do is we need to copy this URL here, and I'm going to call it place details URL and then string it. And then I'm going to simplify this URL with our base URL because this highlighted part is the same as our base. So I'm just going to delete that and base URL plus the rest of this stuff. And now I'm going to replace the static dummy place ID that came with along with our example URL. So here I'm gonna place ID here and then string the rest of it. And then fields are all these properties. So the one field that we want is reviews. So right here, I'm going to remove the formatted phone number because we no longer need that. And I'm just gonna type in reviews. I'm gonna keep the name and rating. And then replace the API key. So Google API, which we've defined on line 17 already. I'm gonna delete this. Now we have the URL that's able to give us the response along with the reviews. Now we just need to fetch this URL so we can get reviews out of it. So I'm just gonna copy line 21 to 23 and place it here. And then I'm gonna replace this URL right here with that one. And I'm gonna keep everything else, but I'm just gonna rename the variables here. So details, details will be this entire JSON object, but I just want to get result. So I'm gonna do result equals details, and then type in the key here, and then print result. I'm going to see what it will return and run it. Cool. So we have the name, which we specify in the field's name, and then we also got the rating, and most importantly, we got the reviews. So we can see that reviews are actually inside of an array. So in order to get each individual review out, we would need to loop through this array. So in Python, in order to loop through, we just do for review in, we could do, actually I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna call reviews equals results and then reviews. So this thing right here, this variable, is actually just going to give us this highlighted part. So it's going to give us the array, the reviews inside of this array. So now I'm just going to print the reviews out just to see. Yay! So exactly what we were expecting, an array with a bunch of reviews in it. Now I can for loop inside of reviews, which we defined on line 21. I'm going to call it review in reviews. So you can call this A, you can do a for A, for B, for whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to just call it review. It makes more sense. And I'm going to get the review. So in order to get the review, I need to go look at where the review is actually being stored under. So I see that the review, the first review, it's stored under the key text. And that makes sense because if I go here, each review is under the key text. So I'm just going to call it text equals review text. So if you want the author name, you could just change this text into author name and then rename the variable to author name or something else. I'm going to just get the text. And now I want to just print out the text. But I also want to have a counter next to a text, something like counter. So I know the count of this review. And Python has a very handy built-in function called enumerate, which allows me to just enumerate through the array and it will have an automatic counter for me. And in order for me to access that counter, all I need to do is type in for index or I could do for a comma review. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you know the first parameter is index. So I'm going to do print index, comma, text. Yay, cool. So now I have the each counter. So this is the first review, but it starts at 0 because that's the default range of enumerate. I believe you can set it where it doesn't start from 0, it can start from 1 or whatnot. But here we can see that we have 5 reviews, and I don't get it. We had more reviews showing on Google. So if I do Google, and I'm going to do chat time. Was it this one that I wanted? I think it was this one. So it had more than 5 reviews, but why is this returning only 5 reviews? After some investigation, I found out that because I have the free version of the Google API account, I don't have access to more than 5 reviews, so it will only return 5 reviews. But if you are a business and you want all the reviews to your business, you can get an upgraded version. So this is good for now because this is what we want for the IBM Watson Tone Analyzer. So we have the text here. Great. And now let's just go back to our documentation. So down here, I'm just going to copy and paste this thing right here. And then I'm going to put it under the for loop, so it can analyze each of this text. And good thing I've already set my variable to text because it reads the text on line 33. And tone underscore analyzer, we've already created an instance of it on line 11. And it has a method called .tone, and this is what will analyze and return the analysis to us. So everything looks fine here. Yeah, I'm just gonna run this file. Yay! So this is beautiful. So it's giving us the analysis of each of the review that we were able to get. See, so it starts from sentence ID. So that means that it's a new review. And then this one right here. This is the first review, sentence ID 0 and then 1. So it analyzes each of the sentences inside of each review. So this is all looking good, but there's one more thing about this program that it's a bit staticky. So it's this place input, because right now I'm setting it to chat tire, a very static dummy place, but I want to make it more dynamic. So I'm going to ask the user to actually input what they want. So first I'm going to print out to the user, hello, and then I'm going to say, please enter a place from Google. Okay, cool. A place like a restaurant or a place or a venue from Google. And then now I'm gonna set user input equals input. And this is input is just a built-in function from Python that will ask the user for input through the command line. So now we have this. I'm gonna replace user input with line 20. Which we're setting it to place input, and place input, we're actually going to put it through this URL, and that's what it will be fetching. So let's just see how it works. So I'm gonna rerun this file. Hello, please enter a place like a restaurant or a venue from Google. Cool, I am going to type in a new place. Oops. I found a place earlier. It's called Hart's Yard. So I'm going to type this in, hoping that it's going to analyze the reviews. And it did. The cocktails are, yeah, I think it's a bar. So very cool. So now I have the analysis. I hope you like this video, and yeah, thanks.